and I'm presenting a case of out-of-body experiences happening spontaneously under waking, in the waking state, under full consciousness. It's happening to me since 1995, and also to my husband Michael, who has been an experiencer for the past 44 years. So, last week, when I was browsing on the internet, I read an advertisement, huge advertisement saying, out-of-body experiences in 3 days, guaranteed, right? Now, I'm like, okay, it's kind of trendy nowadays to pay huge bucks for someone who would teach you how to get out of body, right? But guess what? I know a person who would pay a lot of money to someone who could teach him how to get back into his physical body and stay grounded. That person is my husband, Michael, who has been having out-of-body experiences for the past 44 years, since he was born. He remembers, he has been through the so-called conscious birth, right? He remembers when his mother was delivering him. He remembers his own death, out of body, of course. Michael is a natural psychic and an out-of-body experiencer for the past 44 years. He has been having out-of-body experiences in a waking state, under full consciousness, when walking, talking, standing, working, whatever, okay? Now, Dr. Atwater, PMH Atwater, who is a recognized scholar on the OBEs and NDs and other paranormal experiences, she would write a foreword to my book on OBEs, where she would say about Michael, and I'm quoting, a man who discovered a new aspect to his own being, the ability to leave his body and goes elsewhere. Now, she would also say in one of our conversations something about Michael that scares me a little. She would say, he is still human, but beginning to operate better at a higher frequency than what's called normal. Almost as if he is becoming pure consciousness, unquote. Well, my aim here today is to deliver my presentation in the most truthful, honest, and effective way as possible, and to this lovely audience here, and to everyone who's willing to listen to my story without judging it. Before I start, though, I think I should make 2 points. First, this paper presents a case for studying an out-of-body experiences based on first-person experience, as it was written from the perspective of experiencers, myself and Michael. So my paper relies on observations that are subjective in their nature. Second, a clear distinction should be made between an out-of-body experience in the waking state, happening fully, spontaneously, naturally, under full consciousness, active, in the middle of the day, out of the blue, when you're walking, talking, working, whatever, and what I call out-of-body light experiences that will happen, under lucidity or lucid states, right? Under hypnosis, under influence of drugs, different meditations, you also have REM intrusion, right? Sleep paralysis, hypnagogia, hypnopompic states, you would have different out-of-body experiences happening under deep sleep when theta waves are involved, or theta and delta waves. So I'm presenting out-of-body experiences happening, okay, one more time, in a waking state, under full consciousness, in the middle of the day, okay, when person is active, talking, speaking, standing, right? Not laying down or sleeping. Now, I will not use much quotation from different scientific works, right? People that would study out-of-body experiences, because I want to present as much first-hand experience and first-hand information and facts as possible. Although I might use one quote from Susan Blackmore, who studied the nature of OBEs extensively. In one of her studies, okay, she would say the following on the nature of OBEs. Well, they are of, quote, they are of short duration and happen only once or twice in all lifetime. Well, let me respectfully disagree with that statement, given the fact that Michael undergoes multiple OBEs each day over the last 44 years. He must have experienced over 15,840 OBEs up to date. So what's the story on Michael? Well, basically, he remembers the whole prenatal stage, having been in his mother's uterus, and actually, he remembers the exact instant when his, well, let's call it soul, or the light body, or the quantum of energy was flown into his mother's uterus to join the fetus that would later become his physical body. In his own words, quote, I have had OBEs since I can remember. I remember leaving my body as a toddler. I remember being in my mother's uterus. I remember how it felt there, the exact sounds, colors, geometric shapes, and surroundings. Well, Michael telepathically communicates with animals, the DCs, toddlers, newborns, and even babies that have not been born yet. They are either in the prenatal stage or will only be born in a distant future. He retrieves information from walls, doors, wood, trees, pieces of furniture, wooden furniture, stones, crystals, plants, basically anything and which is organic would work. Plastic would not work. Well, when Michael goes out of body in the middle of the day, okay, I can just tell. I have been observing him for the last 25 years, and what he would do when leaving his body, he would kind of shut his eyes. He doesn't need them when out of body. He would, with respect to his movements, he would kind of like move in a robotic like of movements, trying to look for his balance, right? He would have some vestibular issues, you can tell. He would try to figure out, the space, trying to figure out the difference between his interpersonal and extrapersonal space, so to speak. Now, he would also have difficulty communicating when out of body. He would have a hard time, he would have some difficulties clearly with respect to his both oral and written fluency and his mother tongue, which is English, right? He could hardly hold a pen. He can't write because his muscles are all relaxed, right? Now, he would also exhibit some signs, I don't want to call it symptoms, but some signs of people that usually suffer from different symptoms such as aphasia, agraphia, dyslexia, apraxia, or nausea, spatial and visual nausea, right? Now, this is how Michael describes his physical vision when out of body. I don't have to see with my physical eyes because I can see with the means of my consciousness extended in space. Sometimes I have problems with my eyes when I'm here on Earth. I can't read through my physical eyes, only through touch and feel. I'm only able to read through the shape of air and thoughts. Most of the time, I'm out of body, so my physical eyes are not a problem because I don't use them. When I come back to Earth, however, I walk into walls sometimes. My orientation out of body relies on extrasensory perception solely. I get oriented through touching at distance as my aura is extended in space. I don't have to physically see the object to know what it is. It's just, I just feel it with my extended consciousness. So again, when you're out of body, you don't need eyes because you can see by touch, smell, and taste, so to speak. You can feel the shape of objects at distance. At a certain time, you can taste whatever you are looking at. You can hear it too, because every object has its own vibration or energetic signature attached to it in the form of both audible or inaudible sound. When out of body, I function multidimensionally. And I'm not just onlooker, but rather a participant as well. So I'm not only an observer. Like if you're watching a movie, I'm rather a part of the movie myself, 3D movie, right? Now, back in 2016, Michael and I began to cooperate with the Free Foundation for Research of Extraterrestrial Encounters. The research study conducted by the Free demonstrated that 80% of those with NHI encounters, non-human intelligent encounters, experience also out of body, right? I mean, they have OBEs, right? Now, out of body experience has been identified as one of the core experiences of NHI encounters based on the Free study. Dr. Rudy Schultz, former Harvard astrophysicist, would send an inquiry to Michael last year, and in his reply to the inquiry, Michael would confirm the following. In his out-of-body experiences, he explores the cold, dim, planet-like objects everywhere in the vast spaces between the stars. They have masses and solid cores with atmospheric gases and weather effects much like our Earth. There's one rock planet beyond the planet Pluto. It's a dead planet. People must accept its support life. The whole inquiry actually was published in Mary Rodwell's new book called The New Human. Mary Rodwell is an internationally recognized expert on ET/NIG context. And she devoted the entire chapter 20 to Michael's and my story. The chapter, for those of you who are interested in, the chapter is called The Interdimensional Travelers, Out-of-Body, Multidimensional Journeys. Now, Michael loves to visit different planets during his out-of-body travels. This is what he said about running water, and I repeat, running water on Mars back in 1998, and I have entered it into my diary code. I've been exploring Mars among other places. There's running water there. Also, there are certain types of living creatures, such as bugs and lizards, unquote. Now, NASA released information on running water on Mars only back in 2014. Now, Michael told me about it back in 1998. Sometimes when in an out-of-body mode of consciousness, this is how I call it, Michael experiences things which would happen in physical, dense reality, only later, like in a couple of minutes or hours or so, or next day or in a week, or basically sometime in the future. When this happens, funny situations arise all the time. The following story actually describes one of such funny situations. I called it, first, eat your bread, then go and buy it. Well, once Michael asked me to buy a special kind of bread. The bread is native to Slovakia, so you cannot get it in America. Now, the bread that I bought from Michael was eaten by him out of body before I bought it. Basically what happened, he ate it out of body first, and then I went and bought it, brought it to him in physical form after he ate it. So basically what happened is a future event happened in the form of an out-of-body experience before it happened in the present reality. Michael is accustomed to such a way of living and perceiving reality. He lives through the same events, situations twice. First, out of body, and then in a dense reality. There are times where he's not sure if what he's experiencing at a moment is the actual present reality or whether it's a future that he's experiencing out of body. Michael is also able to enter bodies of other human beings, animals, including birds, trees, plants, and so on, and pick up their feelings, emotions, or thoughts. The following is a story I called I Flew in the Body of a Sad Bird, and basically describes what it felt like after Michael was able to enter a body of a flying bird, right? So, quote, it was evening and it was already dark. I transferred into the body of a bird who was flying. I was scared. I could tell the bird was very sad. Something bothered him. He had to fly somewhere. From question and answer. Okay, so I guess it's okay. So I have to finish right here, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask. Sorry.
My personal experiences in trances and altered states inform a great deal of my life and my spirituality. When I'm doing science, I am always very careful to try to throttle that back down to statements that can, at least in principle, be verified by other people who aren't me. From that perspective, I'd like to ask why the rest of us should believe that any of Michael's testimony is something other than the result of some kind of seizure disorder accompanied by delusional states.
Well, Michael does not suffer any medical conditions. He's a healthy individual. He was hired by government back in 1998 to solve some criminal cases in Europe, case of murder of a politician, highly ranking politician, which he solved to satisfaction. So, I mean...
It's that from a research standpoint, we're always looking for ways in which one can validate these kinds of things, these kinds of experiences. And so when you have something that's reproducible as what Michael does, it seems like a very natural condition to do this kind of research. So for example, clairvoyant kind of research would be in principle fairly simple, to have something at a remote site and have him leave his body and go to that remote site and describe what is there, come back, write it down or whatever, and then that can be validated, and that would be, in principle, a very clean way to do research. So I'm wondering, has he been tested in this way?
He has not been tested yet, but he does not want to come out of the closet yet. But he's retiring this year, and we would like him to get tested starting 2018, right? And there's much more. Well, the reason why he does not want to get out of the closet is rather that he claims he has been in touch with, you call it NHI or different entities early on when he was 4 years old, right? That would kind of like draw him through his life. When he was 3 years old, he would be shown he would be shown me, right, like Julia, that's your wife. You have to have so many kids, and this is what you're going to do in your life, right? So he has certain stages that he's been following, and the reason why I'm appearing here in 2017 is that he is retiring in 2018 and is ready to get tested to get out of the closet. I mean, I have written a book, right, on out-of-body experiences, which is in Slovak. It was translated in English, but Michael stopped it. He said, it's not the time yet. Let's publish it in English in 2018. It's all ready to be published, but there's many things that I'm not revealing here, not saying, that rather would, I mean, you know what I'm trying to
Yes.
say. Yeah, so I think.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the preview then.
Sure.
Hi. Early in the talk, you alluded to a suggestion that perhaps this is representative of a stage of evolution. That perhaps this is an advanced state of being that maybe some of us can look forward to at some point. But with that, I would like you to clarify. So I think Ken Wilber is quoted with saying there's a difference between waking up and growing up, right? And so indication of a really advanced abilities in one dimension doesn't necessarily always come with it the ethics we would like to see onboarded with it. So my question is, what kind of do you find that in these states is Michael participating in some kind of maxi-fraternal or assistential types of tasks, or is he just kind of popping around looking at stuff? I mean, encapsulating the body of a bird is impressive, of course, but you could imagine cases of working in an extra-physical clinic and helping pathological consciousness that are discarnate, things like this. So
he is not involved in any of this yet, but he would like to in the future. I mean, he can talk to, as I said, he can talk to animals, he sees a pregnant woman, and it just happened last week, right? And he was interacting with the fetus. He can talk to disease. I mean, he's open. In the future, he is open to do all these kind of things. He is doing it right now. I am keeping my diary. I have thousands of pages written, right? I started in 1995, 1994. But as I said, he said it's not the time yet, for him to get out of the closet. And hopefully next year we can go ahead with some of the research, and that's why I'm presenting the paper here right now, if that makes sense.
well, it makes sense from a research standpoint, and we're scientists, so we'll talk.
Okay, all right.
Okay? We've gone over time.